Whispers across void. The Galactic Assembly Station hung like a silver pendant against the backdrop of stars so ancient they made humanity's entire existence seem like a forgotten breath. Sarah Beckett adjusted her standard-issue diplomatic uniform for the 5th time, feeling distinctly out of place among the hundreds of species that glided, floated, or shimmered through the vast atrium. "First day jitters?" asked Alex Cooper, Sarah's senior colleague, his expression sympathetic but tinged with amusement. "Is it that obvious?" she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Everyone feels it," Alex shrugged. "Humanity has only had a seat at this table for 7 years. We're still the cosmic equivalent of toddlers who somehow got invited to a board meeting." Sarah nodded, watching as a being composed entirely of what appeared to be folded light conversed with a massive entity whose skin rippled with mathematical equations. "And I'm supposed to represent Earth's interests by taking notes and staying quiet, right? The official diplomatic term is dignified observation," Alex grinned. "But yes, essentially, don't speak, don't engage, just watch and record. That's all Earth expects for your first rotation." The assembly hall itself defied human architectural understanding. Vast, transparent domes revealed the swirling nebula beyond, while gravity shifted subtly between sections to accommodate various physiological needs. Sarah followed Alex to their designated area, marked with the Earth insignia, positioned in what diplomatic personnel informally called the Observer's Corner. "We're sharing this section with the Proxima Coalition and the Tau Ceti Conclave. They're friendly enough, just don't mention temporal physics to the Proxima delegates. They've been arguing about causality for 3 centuries. Sarah settled into her seat, designed for roughly humanoid anatomy, but with strange protrusions that dug uncomfortably into her back. She activated her datapad and prepared to document the proceedings as Alex had instructed. The assembly session began with formal announcements in 17 languages simultaneously. Sarah's neural translator hummed against her temple, working to convert the cacophony into comprehensible standard. The discussions quickly devolved into complex arguments about resource rights in some distant sector she'd never heard of. "Ambassador Aya is speaking now," Alex whispered. "The blue entity with the crown of light. She's considered one of the wisest voices in the assembly." Sarah nodded, trying to follow the intricate debate, when suddenly every light in the chamber dimmed. The temperature seemed to drop several degrees as conversations halted mid-sentence. "What's happening?" she whispered, but Alex's expression had gone rigid with attention. Through the main entrance came a procession that commanded attention without demanding it. 8 guards in gleaming armor that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Their helmets revealed no faces, only smooth surfaces that occasionally rippled like disturbed water. Behind them walked a figure that made Sarah's breath catch involuntarily. Commander Rena, of the Stellar Covenant, stood nearly 8 feet tall, her skin a deep purple that shifted with patterns resembling star formations. Her eyes glowed with inner light as she surveyed the assembly with cool detachment. Sarah had studied files on the Covenant, a powerful alliance of 17 systems known for their military prowess and isolationist policies. Their appearance at the assembly was rare, their active participation even rarer. "The Covenant honors us with their presence," announced the assembly mediator, his voice barely masking his surprise. Commander Rena didn't acknowledge the greeting. Instead, her luminous gaze swept across the chamber with deliberate slowness until, suddenly, inexplicably, it locked onto Sarah. The intensity of that stare felt physical, as though invisible fingers had gripped her spine. "That human," Commander Rena's voice carried effortlessly across the chamber without amplification, "belongs to me." Silent bargains. Dr. Chen burst through the door of Sarah's temporary quarters,
her usual composure replaced by barely contained panic. "What did you do?" she demanded, running a hand through her disheveled hair. "The entire galactic assembly is in uproar, and the Earth delegation is receiving urgent communications from home." Sarah sat on the edge of her bed, still trying to process the events from hours earlier. "I haven't done anything," she replied. "I've been on this station for exactly 26 hours. I've spoken to maybe 3 people." "Then explain why Commander Rena of the Stellar Covenant just claimed you in front of representatives from over 200 civilizations." Dr. Chen paced the small room, her diplomatic badge flashing with incoming message alerts. "I can't," Sarah shook her head. "I've never met her before today." A chime at the door interrupted them. Before either could respond, it slid open, revealing 2 Covenant guards, their armor absorbing light in impossible ways. Behind them stood a figure Sarah recognized from her briefing materials, Kai, an envoy of the Stellar Covenant with the same purple skin as Commander Rena, though their patterns flowed in different rhythms. "Sarah Beckett." Kai's voice had a musical quality that the translator couldn't quite capture. "My sister requests your presence." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "As Earth's diplomatic coordinator, I must insist that Sarah remain with her delegation until we've received instructions from our government." Kai's expression remained neutral. "This is not a request that concerns governments. It concerns a debt of life." Sarah frowned. "A debt of life? I don't understand." 3 stellar cycles ago," Kai explained, "a small research vessel was ambushed in the Andira sector. You were aboard the Earth ship Horizon, passing through on a standard supply run." Recognition dawned on Sarah. "The distress signal. We diverted to assist a ship under attack." The memories rushed back with startling clarity. "Our captain was killed. We lost 11 crew members." "That vessel was mine," Kai said simply. "The attackers were Vren raiders. Your ship intercepted their final attack, drawing fire that would have destroyed my shields. You took damage meant for me." Dr. Chen looked between them. "You're saying this claim is about repaying a debt?" "In Covenant culture," Kai replied, "saving a life creates an unbreakable bond. Our customs demand recognition and protection." They turned to Sarah. "There is more. You should hear it from Rena." Against Dr. Chen's protests, Sarah followed Kai through corridors that gradually transformed from the utilitarian design of the human section to the flowing architecture preferred by the Covenant. Their guards moved with silent efficiency, creating a protective formation around them. Kai spoke as they walked. "Since Commander Rena made her claim, 3 attempts have been made to access your personal data. 2 diplomatic missions have filed formal protests, and there is now a contract on your life." "A contract?" Sarah stumbled. "Someone wants me dead? Why?" "Because you are suddenly valuable. A human with Covenant protection has political implications that threaten certain interests." They arrived at an entrance guarded by 4 more Covenant soldiers. The doors opened, revealing a chamber that seemed larger inside than architecture should allow. Commander Rena stood by a viewport, her tall figure silhouetted against stars. "Leave us," she commanded without turning. The guards and Kai withdrew silently. When they were alone, Rena finally turned, her luminous eyes studying Sarah with unsettling intensity. "You don't remember me." "Should I?" Sarah asked. "I was aboard Kai's vessel, a diplomatic assignment, not a military one. When the Vren attacked, I was unconscious after the first barrage. You pulled me from the wreckage yourself before your ship was damaged." Sarah's eyes widened as fractured memories aligned. The purple woman in the command center. I thought you were dead. I nearly was. Rena moved closer, her height making Sarah tilt her head back. You stayed with me while your ship took fire. You didn't calculate risk or advantage. You simply acted. Anyone would have, Sarah whispered. No. Rena's voice was soft but certain. Many would not. That is precisely why I claimed you today. By covenant law, you are under my protection. Anyone who threatens you threatens me. There are those who will see you as a political asset to be controlled or eliminated. I cannot allow either. So I'm what? Your property? Something like amusement flickered across Rena's features. Not property, protected. By claiming you publicly, I've ensured no one can act against you without consequences. And if I refuse this protection, then you will likely be dead within a planetary rotation. The contract has already been issued. Someone fears what your new status represents. Sarah sank into a seat that adjusted to her form. This morning, I was a junior diplomat, taking notes. Now I'm at the center of a galactic incident with assassins after me. She looked up at Rena. This is insane. This, Rena replied, is politics, the most dangerous game played between stars.
Crimson Horizons. The assembly reconvened with tension thick enough to distort the air. Sarah entered, flanked by Covenant guards, their armor absorbing light like black holes with consciousness. Every diplomatic representative turned to watch her progress across the chamber floor, her footsteps echoing in the unnatural quiet. "This is unprecedented," whispered Isabel, the Earth delegation's legal advisor. "No human has ever been granted Covenant protection. We don't even have formal treaties with them." Sarah nodded, keeping her expression neutral as she'd been coached. The seat assigned to her now placed her directly across from Commander Rena, whose imposing presence dominated the chamber. Despite standing nearly 8 feet tall, with skin that rippled with cosmic patterns, Rena somehow appeared more regal than frightening today, her movements deliberate and composed. The assembly mediator called for order. We continued discussions regarding the Antarian trade routes and boundary disputes in the Cygnus Arm. He deliberately avoided mentioning yesterday's declaration, though everyone present could focus on little else. A representative from the Arcturus Confederation rose, their crystalline body refracting light. "Before proceeding, I believe clarification regarding the human delegate status is required. The Covenant's claim has significant implications for multiple treaties." Rena's gaze remained fixed forward. "The matter is settled. The human is under my protection, by ancient law." "With respect, Commander," the Arcturus delegate continued, "protection implies alignment. A species barely admitted to this assembly now appears to have secured special status with one of our most powerful members." Sarah felt eyes upon her from all directions, some curious, others calculating, a few openly hostile. She fought the urge to shrink in her seat, remembering Dr. Chen's advice. "Show neither fear nor pride. Remember, you represent Earth, but also yourself." "I wonder," said a voice from the Proxima section, "if the human herself understands what this protection entails. Has she consented to this arrangement?" Sarah realized they were speaking about her as though she weren't present. A familiar irritation rose in her chest. Before she could consider diplomatic consequences, she stood. "I'm sitting right here," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "If you have questions about my understanding, perhaps address them to me." The chamber fell silent. Then, unexpectedly, Rena's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "The human speaks truth," said Rena. "You discuss her, as though she were property or a strategic asset. She is neither. She is Sarah Beckett, who saved my sibling's life without calculation of benefit. I claimed her because she showed courage when others would show caution. Is courage so rare among your civilizations that you cannot recognize it without suspicion? The words hung in the air, neither challenge nor insult, but observation. The Arcturus delegate's crystalline surface flickered with what Sarah's translator rendered as uncomfortable recognition. Before discussions could continue, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Covenant guards moved with startling speed, forming a protective circle around Sarah as the assembly erupted in confusion. "Security breach," announced the station's AI. "Unknown contaminant detected in atmospheric systems. Please proceed to designated safety zones." Sarah felt Rena's hand on her arm, the touch electric through her uniform. "Stay close," the commander ordered, her voice low and urgent. They moved through the chaos with efficient purpose, Rena's guards clearing a path. In a secured corridor away from the panic, Rena's expression darkened. "This is no accident," she said. "The contaminant was targeted to affect human physiology specifically." "An assassination attempt," Sarah whispered, the reality of her situation finally sinking in with cold clarity. "Crude but effective, had you been exposed." Rena's eyes scanned the corridor. "Someone moves against us sooner than anticipated." Sarah noticed her choice of words, "us, not you," and felt an unexpected warmth beneath her fear. "Why go to these lengths for me? I'm not important." "You are now," Rena said simply. "Your importance is defined by those who seek your elimination." Her eyes met Sarah's with intensity that made breathing difficult. "And by those who would prevent it." Later, in Rena's private chambers, Sarah watched as the commander reviewed security protocols with her officers. The crisis had been contained, the contaminant neutralized, but the assembly was in uproar. Earth's delegation demanding answers, the Covenant promising investigation. Sarah observed Rena in this element, commanding, decisive, her presence filling the room without effort. The patterns across her purple skin seemed to pulse with energy, shifting like constellations rearranging themselves. When the officers departed, Rena turned her attention to Sarah. "You should rest," she said, her voice softer than Sarah had heard before. "How can I?" Sarah asked. "Someone just tried to kill everyone with human DNA on this station." Rena moved closer, her height making Sarah tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "They will not succeed, not while you are under my protection." "Why go to these lengths for me?" Sarah asked the question that had burned in her mind since yesterday. "The truth, Rena, not political maneuvering, not ancient laws. Why?" Something shifted in Rena's luminous gaze. "Because in a universe of calculated advantage, you acted without calculation. And because when you pulled me from that wreckage, you looked at me not as alien, not as enemy, but as someone who needed help. That is rare, Sarah Beckett, rarer than you know." Their eyes held a moment too long. Sarah became acutely aware of Rena's presence, the subtle scent like distant lightning, the warmth radiating from her purple skin. "Tomorrow," Rena said, breaking the moment, "we discover who wants you dead."
Fractured stars. Sarah leaned over the holographic display, her fingers tracing connections between diplomatic missions, trade agreements, and security breaches. 3 days since the assassination attempt, and her world had transformed entirely. Gone was the junior diplomat taking notes, replaced by someone at the center of galactic intrigue. "The pattern is clear," she said as Rana entered the chamber. "Every faction that's protested your claim has connections to the Taurus Syndicate." Rana moved beside her, close enough that Sarah felt the warmth radiating from her purple skin. "The Syndicate has sought expansion into Covenant territories for decades," she noted, her voice lower, more intimate than in official settings. This isn't about me, Sarah realized. I'm just the excuse. They're using this situation to create diplomatic pressure. You underestimate your importance. Rena's hand brushed Sarah's, sending unexpected electricity through her. What you represent threatens them. And what exactly do I represent? Sarah turned, facing Rena directly, their proximity suddenly overwhelming. Hope, Rena said simply. That different species can form connections beyond political advantage. Her luminous eyes held Sarah's. The syndicate thrives on division, on calculated self-interest. You challenge their fundamental philosophy. Aya burst into the room, interrupting the moment. Commander, we've intercepted communications. The syndicate plans to force a vote of censure against Earth, claiming they orchestrated this entire situation. Sarah felt panic rise. Earth could lose its assembly seat. My people would be diplomatic outcasts. That won't happen. Rena's voice carried absolute certainty. She turned to Sarah, her expression softening. Trust me. Later, alone in her chambers, Sarah found Rena waiting. The commander stood silhouetted against stars, her purple skin illuminated by their light. You should be preparing for tomorrow's session, Sarah said, trying to ignore how her heart accelerated. I needed to see you. Rena moved closer, her height making Sarah tilt her head back. Tomorrow will change everything. You should understand why. Then help me understand, Sarah whispered. Rena's hand lifted, touching Sarah's face with unexpected gentleness. Among my people, there is a belief that souls recognize each other across lifetimes, across species. When you saved me, when you looked at me without fear, I felt that recognition. Sarah's breath caught as Rena leaned down, the distance between them closing. Her lips cool against Sarah's, the kiss gentle yet electric. Sarah's arms wrapped around Rena's neck as the kiss deepened, becoming something neither had anticipated, but both had wanted. When they separated, Sarah whispered, "What happens tomorrow?" "We change everything," Rena replied.